Good. Now we're live. So wait for the tab to just populate. It'll take you a couple of seconds on your end. And when you see it pop up on that Facebook page, then you can close it.
I can close it.
I just got
There.
we're here.
We love. Okay, so I'm closing this.
You're closing the Facebook tab.
Welcome. Yes, welcome to Creating 2019, guys. I am so excited to jam with these ladies. These are two of my mentors, two of my most favorite mystic mentors, spirituality teachers. They for me have played a very intricate role in coming out of my mystic closet because I was deep in my closet and really afraid of what people will think. And they played a huge role in that. So I am super excited to introduce you to the Woo Collective, Lorene Molly and Shakisha Reynolds.
Hello. Thank you so much for having us, Michelle. You're the best. We love you so much.
We do. Hi everyone. I'm Shakisha. Michelle, thank you so much for having us. We're so excited for this summit. It's been amazing.
Thank you for saying yes. I would love to hear it straight from you guys. Like, who are you? What do you do? What you're about so that our audience know who you are.
All right, go ahead, Shakisha. You start.
Yes, no problem. Hi, everyone. My name is Shakisha. I am a mystical teacher and mentor over at the Woo Collective. I am a co-creator of the Woo Collective alongside my best friend, Lorene Malley. I started my journey in 2016 quite unexpectedly. It wasn't something that I was seeking to do at the time. But the universe deemed it divine, and I discovered that I had gifts through a reading with Lorene. And from there, I surrendered completely. I said to the universe, you know, if I have these gifts and I am meant to be of service to humanity in any way, use me now. And literally within about 30 days, the universe was like, okay, we want you to go and activate DNA. And so I went off and did certification for that. To date, Lorene and I have activated over 100 people.
I'm one of them.
You are, yes. And now we're getting ready to kick off our first round of certification for other practitioners. We're teaching other people how to do that. It has been an incredible journey, and I have learned to appreciate so much, so much, so much the journey for what it is in each moment versus trying to get to some obtainable goal. Presence and consciousness have been my roadmap, and I seek to share that with others who are ready to live.
Love that.
And I am Lorene Malley. I am also co-creator of the universe, medium, energy reader, DNA activation practitioner. This year in 2019, Shakisha and I are mostly focusing our energy on teaching other mystics how to do what we do and mentor. I've given over in my lifetime, so I counted in 2007, I had given like 1,100 readings over my lifetime, probably close to 11,000.
Master reader right there.
It's so ridiculous. But we're really focusing on teaching mystics how to do this work, how to do it through consciousness, and unlearning patterns that we've been taught through society. Like Michelle said, you know, when she started, she was kind of scared of the mystical closet, which is a really deep wound that we all have. Everyone has it. So we're really committed and devoted to mentoring these mediums and, you know, healers and coaches and people who are opening their clairs. Shakisha and I often refer to ourselves as the clair teachers because there's this deep connection between like the claircognizance, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentient, and all the other spiritual gifts. And so we've been teaching people how to open up their clair so they can really be the powerful mystics and witches and healers that they're meant to be. So that's what the Woo Collective is really all about. And Shakisha and I run it together. We're best friends. We've been running this business online together for just over 2 years, and we're so excited to see what 2019 is going to bring. But that's who I am.
I love it. I love these two ladies. They are real, they are raw, and they create such a potent space for people to activate their gifts. And we're going to dive right in with, part of opening your clairs is learning all the bullshit that you think you know.
Mm-hmm.
And let's dive into that, because we're diving into a huge topic that I think a lot of people are just now starting to grasp, like the importance of unlearning, the importance of shedding old beliefs. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Well, I'll start by saying that the work that Shakisha and I have done is through consciousness, and through consciousness and presence, observing the ego, you start to learn. There's like this 3-step process that most people go through if they're going to go on any spiritual journey. The first process is kind of becoming aware of your environment and that your ego is running your mind. The second is really being aware of your environment, being able to co-create your own existence. And then the second part is realizing that there's this underlying negative or hard part of your life that's kind of, you're in the spiritual realm and you're like, I get this, I want to co-create create my own life. Then there's always this negative undertone. And when you realize that, you start to tap into the fact that your shadows and the shadow part of you is running part of your life. So you're running on this conscious side over here, but you haven't yet integrated your shadows. And so in the second level kind of spirituality, you're kind of tapping into the fact that you're these two beings. And then when you start to recognize that, you dive into the third level when you come back to your body. And the first step, I think a lot of people are at, they're starting to wake up to the fact that they can co-create with the universe. They can create their own world. Wouldn't you say, Shakisha, a lot of people are at that first step?
Absolutely. And it can be convoluted and loud and noisy in that space because we run into a lot of new concepts and information and words and terminology that's being shared around in a space that you're not used to being in. And you're trying to figure out how it all applies to you. And so you're at that step where you're like, oh, wait, I play a role in this. This is not just happening to me. Like I'm co-creating some of this. And that means I have this power to change the things about my life that I don't enjoy. But what happens with that when we're unconscious, that information can be to our detriment if we don't have a place and understanding of what consciousness is, because then we slip into the trying to manipulate energy, manipulate the universe, and we bump against not being good enough because we're trying to manifest, we're trying to get the money, the car, the guy, the girl, the job, and it's not working because we don't yet have an understanding of all of the underlying pieces of ourselves that we've pushed away, that society or our conditioning as children when we were being raised has taught us that was not acceptable.
This is so good. This is so good. And I would love for you to tackle this word consciousness. What does that mean for our listeners?
That's so funny because consciousness, Shakisha and I say this all the time, like they don't understand. People have really, I don't know, romanticized the word, maybe made it something that's out there, something that's too woke, something that's like enlightenment, or really what conscious is super simple. Consciousness is when you are aware that your ego, which is just your mind, which is just the human part of you, is pretty much running your life. So if you think about it, think about the percentage of time that your mind is racing, that your mind is thinking of things that are predominantly negative, I would say, that our mind is constantly just on this. I would say it's even at some point, it's just like psychotic behavior in our mind. And a lot of times, like, you can think, you know, you'll walk down the street and you'll see like a homeless person talking to themselves like out loud and having this full-on conversation, and like, how could you possibly believe that, and like just have this full-on conversation, like, wow, that person's crazy. But in a book that I read by Eckhart Tolle, he was giving an example of that person, that homeless person, the only difference between you and that homeless person is they're saying it out loud. It's like the only the hopeless person, the person that's seems to be disconnected from reality. They're just saying it out loud. We're doing the same thing within our minds. We are constantly. So I want everyone to take a second and think, what percentage of my day is my brain, is my ego, my mind running? Like, am I using my mind as a tool, or does it completely have taken me over? And what percentage of that is negative? And then if you are aware of your mind taking over and your mind kind of running the show, automatically there becomes this sense of presence, because once you become a witness, once you start witnessing the mind activity, there's a different presence there, because you can't witness something unless you are detached from it, and you start to see yourself as the witnessing presence of your being, and you start to see your mind for what it is. And in that moment, you can start learning how to have gaps of no mind, gaps of time in which you're not incessantly thinking. When you have those gaps of no mind, when you are present, when you aren't so connected to the constant stream of thought, that's consciousness. And in that, and I know Shakisha has tons to say about consciousness too, in that space is where your gifts come through. So before that, people try to open their gifts through the tiny moments where they don't have their mind running, through those tiny slivers. But when you shift the energy and you start to open your spiritual gifts, or open your mediumship, or open your intuition or clairvoyance from a place of longer gaps of no mind, when you're the observer of the thinking mind, you can then, your gifts just flood open, because there's nothing in between you and source.
I love it.
And I would just add to that, bringing this consciousness piece into the success of creating a successful 2019. When we are unconscious and our minds are constantly running, it is our reaction to those thoughts that then create unconscious actions in our lives, which creates discord. And we feel like we're lost, and like we're the cog in the wheel, and we're just spinning, and life is happening to us, not for us. When we are conscious and we are present and we are experiencing those gaps of no mind, and we are truly in that moment, you're in your body, you're present within your body, and your gifts are allowed to come in. Your gifts are not external to you. They're not something that we like connect to your energy and we're going to flip the switch and boom, you're clairvoyant. That's not really how it works. It's getting you present first, understanding what parts of your mind are digging into these fragmented pieces of yourself, the pieces that you did not accept, the pieces you were told were not acceptable by society, by family, by whoever, that you're reacting to. Because your ego, your mind, is undoubtedly going to tap into those fragmented pieces. And that's where you get the negative thinking coming in. I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. Or there's fear, like I'm afraid that I'm going to see a spirit, it's going to be scary looking, or things like that. And so that's why when we work with our clients, consciousness is the first thing that we work on, because it's allowing us to peel away the layers and to shed. And the way that sort of ties into our lives and how we create success in our lives is that we have an entire guidance system. We have the universe supporting us, but we're taught not to trust ourselves. We're taught not to trust others. And it's a really weird place to be, because you're not trusting of most people external to you. So you shoulder all of the burden of your life, but you also don't trust yourself to make the right decisions in your life either.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so when you become conscious of the negative thinking and where your ego is tapping into the fragmented pieces of yourself, you can then start to look at that. Why do I not feel worthy? Why don't I trust myself? What am I afraid of? And as you start looking at that and observing that over and over, and you're becoming more conscious of it, it's an acceptance process and it becomes a part of you. And once it becomes a part of you, then there's less reaction because now you're aware. You're like, oh, there's that feeling of unworthiness again. And I know where that comes from. So-and-so told me I don't have it together, you know? And they were right. I believe, my mind believes that. So I'm not going to go do this thing I deeply desire to do with all my heart because I don't trust myself to do it.
And that's such a huge conversation, the not trusting ourselves. I know for me, that's been a journey to really trust my gifts. And as I was sharing with you guys offline, like sometimes my clairvoyance will show up in a way where I'll be like, should I say that? Like, what the fuck is that? You know? And then truth be told, that ends up being like a huge message to the person. I'm like, oh, okay. But this is so huge, the trusting piece. What do you ladies feel is the number one, or I don't want to like create like a hierarchy, but what is so important for us to create, or how to really deepen that trust within ourselves?
You have to stop you have to stop expecting the universe to unravel in a way where you don't feel pain, you don't feel stupid, you don't feel any of these feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Being willing to feel all of your emotions will almost automatically teach you to trust yourself, because you're not trusting yourself because you're afraid to feel your emotions. So I say this and this person rejects me, I'm afraid to feel rejected. You know, I don't say it and then I don't open my gifts and I'm afraid to feel disconnected. It's going through the process, because so many people want to be like, well, is it my ego or is it my intuition? Is it my ego or is it that's the biggest question I ever get. Well, is this my ego or is it my intuition? And if you're not aware yet, that's not even the question to be asking yet. It's more, how can I work on my fragmented pieces, the shadows, the parts I pushed down away from myself, so that I can start being willing to feel all the emotions. And once you're willing to feel emotions, there's no more lack of trust, because you're not avoiding anything. Your actions are no longer so you go in this direction, it's no longer to avoid this direction. It's actually just because you want to experience whatever is in this direction. So when you no longer have actions based on avoidance, you are able to trust yourself, because there's really there's no way that you can go wrong.
Yeah. In a practical sense, think about how many times as entrepreneurs, we get this really inspired idea. We're so excited about it. And then all of a sudden, we're like, oh, but maybe I should add this, or maybe I should, lower the price point so that way people won't say no, or they're less likely to say no. Even though this price point feels really good, I'm gonna come down a couple steps to make sure that, it's easier for people to get access. Not that pricing is, high or low is wrong in any way. It's about what felt good. Felt good to price up here, but we priced it down here because we were afraid that more people would say no. And so there's so many decisions we make as entrepreneurs in our businesses from a place of fear, from reaction to the thoughts, from avoidance. If we within our business, this is how the Woo Collective runs. The Woo Collective, Laureen and I, we take our steps from guidance straight from our entity. We call the Woo Collective as its own energy. We call straight from there. whatever we are guided to do, we are willing to look like complete clowns if that is what is deemed necessary, but we're going to do what we are guided to do. And every time we do that, it works out beautifully. And not necessarily in a way that we would have, our minds would have predicted, because everyone's mind kind of weaves in and out. No one is 100% conscious. We're not walking around like mini Buddhas around here. We're human, right? But the more you do that, the more you allow yourself to do the things that feel good without fear of avoiding an emotion or a feeling. And you just that's what the whole jump, everyone has that whole, that terminology, you gotta jump. That's what that is. It's following what feels good to you, even though it might be scary, even though you might be at risk to have to feel some things when you descend. You know what you're dropping into, right? But it's the faith. It's the walking in faith of what felt good to you. That's taking action in consciousness.
I love it. I want us to dive into the importance of unlearning. And what does that mean, that terminology, unlearn? What does that mean?
So when we grow up, from the moment we are born, we are being projected onto. It's not as intense when we're younger. A lot of people let babies get away with a lot of stuff, but we're still being projected onto. And as we grow older, those projections start to become our truth. So if your mom had a problem with speaking up, she's going to project that onto you. If your dad had a problem with spending money, he's going to project that onto you. We have our whole lives, society, when it comes to our economy, capitalism is born out of projecting, then telling others what you need to buy in order to feel fulfilled. We're always being projected onto. That is why we feel so disconnected from our truth, from our intuition, because we are constantly being bombarded by how we are supposed to feel, how we are supposed to behave. We are constantly having society and the universe, our whole society, everybody that you've ever touched has projected something onto you. The process of unlearning is the process of becoming conscious and letting go of the things that you have, because it's constantly, any habit just needs to be shown to you over and over again. So really your beliefs of what you think is true are just habits. And so the process of unlearning these habits that were projected onto us by society is going to be how you open up your spiritual gifts, is going to be how you, it is the journey to becoming free, because so many people think they want to be financially free, they want to be, space free, they want to be able, the freedom comes from releasing all of the projections that have been placed upon you. With these projections have even affected our relationships with others. So like in the instance of the program that we have, a year-long program where we're unlearning together, in the process of unlearning together in a sacred container, we're also healing this witch wound that we have learned as women, that you cannot trust other bitches, that you cannot allow other women to, because imagine, because this all happens, and not to get too far into history, but when religion and patriarchy really started to control everything, women's relationships were severed, and we were killed together, and we were shown that we were turning on each other. And this witch wound of not being able to trust your sisters, sorry, I had a call pop up, not being able to trust your sisters is something we are learning in the process of unlearning in this container. Because if we have 50 to 100 people in this program, if 50 to 100 women are willing to lean on each other in the process of healing, the ripple effect that's going to have on the witch wound is going to be profound. If there were sacred containers of women everywhere learning to trust each other, if women rose up together and created this real, not like, oh, women rising, but I really hate you, don't want you to grow. Like, not that. This real getting raw and naked and ugly together. If we truly did that in sacred containers and we brought together this magic we used to have, it would change the vibration of the planet.
Yes.
And that's a big exclamation. But we need to learn to unlearn the things and projections, because people say patriarchy, love yourself. Yeah, but you have to be willing to feel emotions. You have to be willing to be vulnerable, even when you think she might stab you right in the back. Turn around and let her stab you right in the heart so you can pull that knife out and start again.
Mic drop.
Mm-hmm.
It's being, again, going back to being willing to feel your emotions, because most of the problems that we all have in our life is from avoidance of just, and the thing there is that we are here in this 3D world, in these flesh bags, to feel emotion. That's why we're here. That's why we're going through the pain in the process. That's why we're here, to feel emotion.
Can we talk about, oh my God, can we talk about this 5D phenomena that some enlightened gurus are talking about?
Oh,
I'm just like,
let's Shakisha. Yep.
She's gonna make me go there. Okay, so as a DNA activation practitioner, and I don't mean to like take over your live with a whole bunch of facts, but
please do.
We stepped, first of all, we are aliens in human bodies. We chose to step down here to this third dimensional planet, 3D, to learn and have an experience which we would then ascend and carry back information. That is why we're here. We are here to experience all of this. The phenomena of this 5D that's sort of taken over the spiritual community has really caused a lot of people to just not be present, period. Because the goal is so attached to being in some fifth dimensional space where everything is peace, love, joy, and abundance, and it's all good, and you don't feel anything bad at all. And if you're over there and you can project yourself as being a fifth dimensional being, you're somehow better than everyone else who is third dimension, when really you're just super unconscious. You are not present.
Avoidance.
You are spiritually bypassing, completely avoiding your human emotions and disregarding your purpose for walking this earth.
Yeah.
Which is why it's a trigger for me when I hear coaches, spiritual coaches, business coaches say, I have the 5D business blueprint. I will permanently erase your fears. Bullshit. Come on. This is why we're here.
I would literally tell a coach, if they wanted to erase my fears, I would be like, then how the fuck am I going to get warnings about my person? Like my fears are warnings. You should look at that.
What about your fear of bears in the forest or sharks in the water? Like, fear serves a purpose. It's not necessarily bad. That is where you learn.
It's your relationship with fear. It's your relationship with fear. You can't. No, we should very much be here on Earth in this third dimension all of the time, as much as we can. Even when we extend our energy into, because I can get spiritual, right? Even when we extend our energy into the other dimensions, and ground that here. You are safe here. Fears are for the taking. Fears are your buddy. They're your, hey girl, you should look at that. Look at it. You know what? I'm not gonna die. Move on. You're
right. Also, the other thing is, it's not to say that the fifth dimension doesn't exist. As a practitioner, we are always hanging out in the 12th dimension, the 16th dimension, the 18th.
We're multi-dimensional beings. Absolutely.
But we are here. We chose to be here at this time.
Right.
We have a mission right now.
Right.
Heal the witch wound, raise the vibration of the planet,
right?
We are
We
not
came
in
back
the
down
fifth
here for this.
dimension right now. We came here to be the beings who exact the shifts that move this planet into the fifth dimension. And we may not see it in our lifetime, but we are here to do the work for those who will come after us to experience.
Right.
Yes. So good. This is so good. Can we dive into the witch wound? Because I know, Lorene, you went in there and it's so powerful because I think like growing up, the relationship with my mother had me not trust women at all.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh no. I grew up with a lot of men that they're now men. They were boys then, but it was just a pack of men, and it was me and my other friend Jennifer. And I trusted men deeply, even though my father was absent in my life, but my mom's relationship deeply impacted how I view women. So I had that witchy wound, right? And it took a lot of healing and inner work to now be the space of intimacy and trust and authenticity with my girls. And now I have so many women friends and women sisters that I love dearly. So let's dive into that, because I think this is so powerful, especially when you said if we really worked on that wound, we would change the vibration of this planet.
Well, everyone goes into bitching about patriarchy. And so, you know, one thing I really believe in, and this might trigger some people, is that women just need to get over themselves. They love to play martyr on one end and then power on the other. Like it's this weird thing where we want to raise up, but we also want men to like, it's this weird martyrism thing that women have. And that's based on patriarchy. Your relationship with your mom and trusting her was your own journey, but you trusting men was based on the society we live in, the patriarchal society that says that men have all the answers, that men can protect us, that men know what's best, right? A lot of religions are based around this. Our patriarchal society is based around this. And we've allowed it to continue to happen, even though we see it, and then we just bitch about it. And sorry, but patriarchy, like, it's like, okay, so we're seeing this, we're aware of this. So the history behind that really quick is, we all know before Christian religion and Judaism and the religions that are very male based, there was Isis, there was the goddesses that harbored this information. There were healers, there were medicine women, there were witches, there were women who were so looked at and everyone went to them, and they were the ones that gave birth. That's why we have such a negative connotation with bleeding and menstrual cycles. They had power in them. The women were the ones that healed the world. They were the healers. They were the shaman. They were the women were the ones that everyone went to, and the men served them, and it was with respect, and it was this circle of support and love and community. We did it together, right? And then the breakdown of different societies based on religion, and witches were burned, and historically we got to a place where they didn't even, if a woman was seen healing another, she was burned at the stake for being a witch. All of that was evil. God didn't want it. It was this whole, I'm glossing over thousands and thousands of years, but slowly it became this, and women were taught not to trust each other. And so then we all started leaning on the stories in the Bible even that really show how mistrusting, and women are either whores or virgins, right? They're either whores that sleep around, or they're married to you and they're your servant, or they've never had sex. And all of these things are very different. That's why we have sexual issues as women. That's why men have such a deep rape culture. It's this whole thing, right? Okay, so we've been aware of this. So patriarchy is loosening its grip a bit, in the United States over here, you can't see it so much, but it's loosening its grip a bit. And where, instead of just pointing at patriarchy, because a lot of these people were just, again, placed into this cog on this wheel and projected onto different views and how you should behave as a woman. And the number one thing we need to do is work on ourselves and start trusting each other, because the break in our trust of each other is how we went down, is how it went down. And so this witch wound is so deep. It's so deep. And so you even said, you know, you had a relationship with men, even though your father was absent. Like, think about how strong patriarchy was in your life. You didn't even have a good father figure, and you trusted men. Like, think about that. That's it's so powerful. It's just, and the thing is too, as women, we can't go into victim mode. We can't say, oh, but we have to look at it for what it is and start trusting our sisters. And our sisters might stab us right in the back because they have the same exact history and pattern that has been thousands of years. We have to be willing, again, it goes back to feeling our emotions and letting women in and starting to trust them and trust their magic. And I know Shakisha would have some stuff to say about that. I glossed over a few thousand years,
but I wanted to, you did a wonderful job, and I really don't have any more to add to that, but I did want to say this. Unlearning transcends like every part of us. Like, there is not much of us that hasn't been conditioned by our family, by society, by ancient history. Like, there's just so much. And so we created Unlearn to have this circle, which throughout the course of the year that we were running Unlearn, we will be healing that witch wound, but also specifically unlearning each month around a specific area in our life: sexuality, body positivity, our body image, and how we see ourselves and others. Even our voices. Like, there's so many of our clients that come to us, and the first thing outside of consciousness that we need to work on is them accepting themselves and their voices. They have so much that they want to say that they don't say because they've been conditioned not to share, or they've been conditioned that what they believe now and what is coming up as their truth is not acceptable.
This is so good. And it's so, I mean, both of you are bringing such great distinctions to light and such great facts, Lorene, with the whole historical, even though you glossed over 1,000 years. But we really get to learn our real history, because I believe that we've been brainwashed to believe a certain particular curated history to have us believe a certain interpretation of the world, but most importantly, a certain interpretation about us as human beings, about who we are and what we're capable of. The Bible alone was like tampered with, and words like reincarnation were deliberately deleted and changed to death so that we can be cut off from that soul, that us being alien, a soul in a human body. Gosh, I want to dive into so many things, but can we talk about, because you ladies, like I said in the beginning of the live, have played such an intricate role in me stepping outside of the mystic closet and really trusting my clair abilities. Can we go into the clair abilities, what they are, and so that my people that are feeling like they're going crazy have a certain understanding of what's happening?
Yeah, and I'll let Shakisha start with that, but I do want to say is, even when it comes to the Bible, I'm not going to get on a tangent, but like, when you look at the wording in the Bible, like, nobody speaks the version of Aramaic that it was originally written in. And so what you said, like the different words, like even virgin was young girl, and that changes the whole story, right?
Yes.
And a lot of times we only hear, if you think about history, you think about war, you think about fights, we only hear the winner's side. You never hear about the people who lost all of the fights in history. Like, we only hear the story of the winners. So I agree with you completely. But I'll let Shakisha start with Claire's. It's such a big part of what we teach, and it's so
my husband.
Way.
My husband says that all the time. He's like, it's only the winner that writes the history. So
yeah,
you gotta.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So true.
Love that.
Oh my goodness. So when it comes to the clairs, what are the clairs? Let's talk about that for a second. So there are 4 main clairs, and our clairs are directly connected to our chakra system. So if you are hanging with Michelle, I'm pretty sure you guys know what your chakra system is. Sorry if you guys can hear my dog in the background. She's having a fit right now. But we have clairvoyance, which is our ability to see. Now, we may not see with our physical eyes, most of us do not, but we do see on the inner screen of our third eye. So a lot of times if you close your eyes and you picture a screen behind your eyelids, so to speak, you'll start to see or sense images through your third eye. We have clairaudience, which is clear hearing. Again, you may not hear with your external ears. It may be with your inner ear. Might seem as though you're thinking, like a thought crossing your mind, but you're actually hearing. And then we have, sorry, she is really...
She is like, let me in. There's so much magic in that room.
She's like, let me in this room. Lorraine, do you want to pick up on the other 2? And then
Sure.
I'll go on with her. Okay.
You should let her in. She's so cute. Nala's so cute. So then you have the clairaudience, which is the third eye chakra. It goes right. I mean, the throat chakra goes right across here. You have your clairsentience, which is your clear feeling, which is your heart chakra. And then we have the cognizant, which is your crown chakra, which is your ability to know things. A lot of people, one of the hardest clairs to recognize is your claircognizance, because you just have always known things. It's not as a vibrant of a clair, but it's very powerful. A lot of people think that clairvoyant is the sexy one because you have the mediums that are the clairvoyants, but I'll tell you through my experience with different clients that the most powerful mediums that I've ever recognized were clairsentient mediums. And then we have the bottom 3 chakras, which is the solar plexus, the sacral chakra, and the root chakra. Those are your 3D chakras, your grounding chakras, the ones that always keep you here. A lot of people, when you say there's more than just 4 chakras, yes, there's clear tasting, there's clear touching, there's clear smelling. Those are derived from your 4 main clairs, because the 4 main clairs are on the top 4 chakras, and there's so many gifts that derive from those. But when you start to feel into and everybody has gifts, everybody has come here with in their 3D flesh backbone bodies with the ability to transmute energy from source. Consciousness is the way. If you are willing to become conscious and work on consciousness, you'll become more of a your etheric wiring, the wiring that connects you to other places that's not on earth, becomes more clear with consciousness. That's why a lot of people have had an experience or a few experiences with source energy, with seeing a ghost or knowing something or having a prophetic dream. Or most people have had, even if they're like super not into this stuff, can tell you a story in which they at one point recognized the gift, but that's because they had gaps of no mind, those tiny moments where their brain wasn't incessantly going, and those gifts just, they pop in, but with consciousness you'll get in a stream and a flow with your gifts, as opposed to being like, is that true, is that real, like questioning your gifts, wanting your gifts to be perfect, wanting your gifts to be like, I mean, you guys have seen Shakisha and Michelle has seen Shakisha and I do readings live, and they're like, how do you do that? How do you just like give information? It's like, because it's just a part of us, just like I'm talking right now. You'll have someone who goes on a live and they're very iffy and they're quiet and they're like reserved. Their gifts are going to be that same way. But when you're just very conscious and present, it's just like speaking. It's the same thing. Your gifts come through the same way. So I hope that makes sense.
Love it. Shakisha, do you want to add anything?
I was just going to say, when it comes to opening up your clair gifts, practice is key. Trusting yourself is key. Presence is key. Those things are really key. Having a space where you feel safe to practice with others is also hugely beneficial. It's how I did it. People always ask me, how did you open your gifts so fast? I literally discovered my gifts in 2016 by probably April of 2017, I was already a part of the Woo Collective and giving readings and activating DNA. And I use my gifts in all of the things that I do. Now I'm a walking prayer. My gifts guide my life. And that is why, because I allow myself, I trust what comes in through my clairs more than anything anyone on this planet can tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. I love that. This is so good. And I really hope that everyone's getting so much value from this. And I know they are. I want us to talk about before I ask you my last question to you both that I ask all of my speakers, I want us to touch on what is your program that you have out, Unlearn 2019. And I'm going to put the links in the comments, but I wanted to really have you guys share on that.
Do you want to start, Shakisha?
Sure. Unlearn 2019 is a year-long membership that we're going to basically be coming together in circle every single month. Every single month, we're going to have a theme and a workbook and connection. And Lorene and I are going to be teaching, yes, but we're also going to be getting raw and real with each other. We're going to get naked. Lorene likes to use the reference of the snowsuit. Some of us are coming in with snowsuits on, and it's going to take us some time to kind of peel all the layers off and get down to our undies. And some of us, like Lorene and I, will probably come in nude. But the point of Unlearn is to really get to know ourselves more than we've ever known ourselves. That is what unlearning is. It is looking at specific areas of your life for an entire year, committing to yourself, committing to the community that is Unlearn, that you are going to show up for yourself, be your healer, heal yourself, learn who you are outside of the conditioning, outside of what's been told and projected on you.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're coming together every month, and we're unlearning and we're learning. And we have guest experts coming through the house. We are dropping so much knowledge in Unlearn. It is going to be incredible. I'm so excited.
And I love how you said the commitment, because when you sign up, you commit for a full year, because this is like, it closes tomorrow, and the doors close until 2020, because we're going to be in the sacred container. We're going to be breaking out into groups. We're going to be creating resources. We're going to be creating that village that so many women in this online space are craving, because, they join a program and they join this thing and they're like, oh, it's okay, but nobody really got naked and nobody really allowed themselves to be seen and heard. And the thing that Shakisha and I are really good at is creating sacred containers. So though the investment financially isn't that big, you should totally join us. The commitment to unlearning, finally committing 2019 to peeling away the layers, to hugging your sisters in person, because we're going to have groups that Shakisha and I show up in. We're going to have groups that other people are just, meeting. We're taking this Facebook life that people, we have this beautiful resource, but we use it as a means to cut each other down and to try to, be the alpha female in the Facebook group, right? How many do you know that are like the alpha female in the group? We're taking this magic that is Facebook. So I put do not disturb on. I don't know why it's not working. Bringing in these women who are willing to peel this layer off and be seen, and then we're like, oh my God, you peeled that layer, and then this layer, and there'll be metaphors and there'll be discussions. Shakisha and I are gonna pop in there every day. We'll be talking to you guys, opening gifts. Claire's gonna be consciousness is gonna be on the docket, but we're gonna meet face to face once a month, and then also in the group, in the workbook, there's so much to really embody and to engulf into. I know everyone's busy, but we're going to create this container where you can step away to start peeling that layer and that layer. So we're really excited for it. It's everything we've learned from all the programs and everything that we put together. Like in the almost 3 years that we've been in business, we put this together and we put this together, and then we created Unlearn. We're like, this is it. This is what everybody needs. So we're really excited about it.
I know I'm excited about Unlearn, and I can't champion these ladies and cheerlead these ladies and really like shout you both out for the authenticity that just radiates from you both, and the love and the heart. And it isn't, what I love about you both is that it's not that fluffy love. It's like that real love, that like
That
tough.
Mary J. Blige love.
Yeah.
Hey.
That Mary J. Blige love that. And the online space needs more of that, and you guys do such a badass job really bringing that online. So I want to honor you both for the work you do, for who you be just as human beings, independent of the Woo Collective, and all the magic that you're creating with the Woo Collective. And I freaking love that name. I was in a spa meeting with Angelise and I. We have these monthly business meetings at a spa, and I'm like, yo, the Woo Collective, like, that name is, I could not get off it for like 10 minutes. And Angelise was like, all right, girl, let's think about our name. And I was just like, I just love that name. But seriously, you guys are creating amazing work in this world, and are pioneering a movement of really bringing us back to our roots, our real ancestral roots. I don't know why I said ancestral, but yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you ladies my last question. I asked all of my speakers this question. What are your top 2 to 3 tips on creating an epic year?
Oh, I'm gonna go first. My first tip is to free yourself from shoulds. Stop doing things that you think you should do. Stop doing things that don't feel good. Because if it's a should, it don't feel really good to you. Stop doing things that you should do. I'll give you an example. I am an administrative professional. I have always bought a planner. I would obsess about the purchase of my annual planner from like September of the year before. And I would spend hours and hours looking at all these planners. And every single year I bought a planner, I resorted back to a regular notebook and my own system of organization. That's one thing. This year, I didn't buy a planner. It's a should. It's this thing that I've been conditioned to think that I have to do in order to be successful. It's not true.
You're conditioned to think that your natural state of being is not good enough.
I also used to do, and the same thing applies for me personally, to vision boards, to New Year's resolutions. I've just decided I'm going to live my best life all the time, period. All the time. I'm eating better, more consistent with that, because I didn't create some arbitrary goal that I'm attached to, that I'm going to ultimately like break, and then I'm going to feel bad about myself. Like, I got rid of the cycle because society told me, oh, you should have a resolution. You should have. I got rid of the should.
So we don't even have a word.
We don't have a word this year. We don't have a word. And my second one would be to allow yourself to be guided in your life. I mentioned earlier that I trust information coming through from my life through my clairs more than anything any other person on this planet can tell me. That is me saying that I trust the universe to always guide me, that I am not alone in this journey, that I can experience anything, good, bad, ugly, in between, and be fine. That's a walking prayer. I wake up and I live ritual. I don't just talk about ritual. I wake up and I communicate with my guides. I don't just go do a guided meditation because I want to test the universe to see if I actually have guides or somebody's going to show up. I talk to them like I'm talking to you, like all day long. Allow yourself to be guided in your life.
So good.
I just have to preface by saying, I know Shakisha so well. She heard you ask somebody that and she wrote hers down. So mine are not going to be as good. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. Hers are awesome. Okay. So the word integrity came to me. So many people, and I'm assuming maybe that we're talking to mystical like business owners, because I know what you do, Michelle, right? So let's just put that there. Integrity gets confused with professionalism. When it comes to showing up in this online space, integrity means that you are going to do what you say. So a lot of times I'll see mystics, I'm just going to say mystics in general, right? We're the floaty ones. We're the ones that don't always, we get a bad rep for not always showing up when we're supposed to show up, for not always doing things on time. And what I'll say there is integrity comes with boundaries. And I think we were talking to Michelle, Shakisha and I said, if you didn't pay us to be there right now, we don't have really any obligation to show up and do anything in particular. The thing is, when it comes to integrity, do what you're going to say, but only say what you really want to do. And be honest with yourself. The more honest you become in this online space, the more integrity you're going to have. And the reason integrity came up for me is because in 2019 and 18, last year, we had some people just vomit some drama onto us and bring us into these drama things. But Shakisha and I stayed strong because show us the receipts. We are exactly as we are in person behind the scenes. There's no fake. We don't talk shit about people behind their back. There's no receipts. Integrity means you show up as yourself. So there is nothing anybody can say. There's nothing you can tell me that I don't already know. So especially in this online space, work on integrity instead of fake professionalism. And I don't even know where that came from, but there's such a deep sense of fake professionalism in this online space. So work on your integrity. Have integrity. And my husband will say this. My husband is one of the most moral, and moral as in, this dude's not religious. He's super inappropriate. He's like, whatever. He's moral in that he always does the right thing. And even when nobody's looking, he is a better person than I am. He always does the right thing. And he always says, you know what the right thing is to do. I don't even want to hear it. You know what the right thing is to do. So have integrity and everything else will unfold. And also start trusting your sisters and being willing to get hurt by them and be open. So many times last year, and I guess these are lessons from last year that we're transmitting into this year. So many times last year in the online space, we as in the whole community got mad and we deleted, unfollowed, removed, unfriended. And we were told that by others, like, oh, you don't need that. You can just delete them. You can just remove them. You don't have to deal with that drama. But it caused so much divide. So what if we're willing to not put all our energy into the drama, but we're willing to hold someone creating drama, willing to see them, listen to them, have conversation, maybe get hurt, but we're willing to not project all of ourselves into it, but we're willing to stay strong and have these conversations, because some of the relationships that we healed last year with other sisters were so powerful. And if we just removed, blocked, deleted, we would have missed that. So be willing to feel the emotions that come with being vulnerable and staying in a space. Abuse aside, if someone's being abusive, get rid of them. But we're getting really, really picky about, someone doesn't agree with how I put my kids to bed, we're like unfriending them, not abuse is unacceptable, never acceptable, walk away. But like, otherwise, let's be really open to each other this year.
I love that. I really love both of your tips have been so awesome and so on point for me as well. I love the distinction of integrity versus professionalism, because I think a lot of people, and I wrote a post like that triggered some people about that, like, let's not be fooled with the over glamorized marketing and the being the proper when we're not really living the work in our lives.
Right.
So I 1,000% yes. Please, if you are not following the Woo Collective, you get to follow these ladies. I want to thank you both. Thank you so much for who you are, for all the magic you bring into this world, for all the gifts you brought into my life, and how I've been able to just really quantum leap my own mystic gifts and clear abilities because of the stand and the space that you guys have created. And I can't wait for Unlearn. And we're going to post the link in the comments for those that are, you know, resonating with this conversation. You have until tomorrow, so please make it a point to take action if this is for you. And yeah, thank you so much. This was such a juicy, epic conversation.
Thank you, Michelle. We love you so much. We love you so much.
All right, ladies, I will be back, guys, at 2 p.m. with Danny Fonseca, and I'm excited to continue these epic conversations. I'll see you guys soon.
Bye,
Bye.
Michelle.